Hello and welcome back to the channel. We ended our tour by several villages on the banks of the Kinzig River. And today we began to travel different places along the Gutach River valley, which we will continue to the south, where we find ourselves first at the Vogtsbauernhof Open Air Museum. As for parking, you will have no problems as you will find it well indicated at the entrance of the museum, and it has a price of €5. But if you buy together with the entry to the museum, the price is reduced to €3. The entrance price to the museum is €10, which, as you will see at the end of the video, does not seem expensive or much less in relation to what is offered and what is seen in this museum. Installed on a plot of about 7 hectares, the visit will allow you to go back in time and know how life was once in the Black Forest. We started our visit by a building from 1599, of name unpronounceable for those who do not know German. In it we see in the lower part a large stable dedicated to the breeding of livestock, in which we will see for the first time the figure of a child. A figure that we shall see in different places of the museum, indicating that there are activities for children in that place. On the next floor, we can see the part dedicated to the housing. Traveling through the great kitchen, dining room and the different bedrooms, all this perfectly ambient, giving an idea of how the inhabitants of the Black Forest lived many years ago. Already at the top of the house, we find ourselves with an exhibition, in which we will see the different tools they used in their daily lives in their livestock and agricultural tasks, as well as different carriages. In this building, we will also find another exhibition, in which it highlights a sample of several watches from the Black Forest, as well as costumes typical of the area. Just next to it we find a small and coquette chapel from the year 1736. According to the brochure, there are about 26 places to visit, both the main houses and auxiliary buildings, as can be farms, serrarias or mills, all of them located and explained in a brochure, also in Spanish, that give you to the entrance of the museum when you buy the tickets. We continue by a small house from the year 1819, named in the brochure Workers' House, a much smaller and humble house, but also perfectly ambient. Next to it we find another large house from the year 1730, where on the ground floor we will find a carpentry workshop of the time and the upper floor dedicated to the housing. The next building is a large farm from 1737. An impressive and perfectly furnished building, including 2 small oxen at the gate of the stalls. Here we will enjoy a sample of the tools used in the production of milk, from the simplest to the machines dedicated to the automatic harvesting. Also in this house, we find a play area, with different children's games of the time and which children can play without any problem. The next floor, like the other houses, is dedicated to housing. And on the upper floor, we have an exhibition of the tools used in this farm in the cultivation and preparation of cereals for livestock feeding. The next building from 1756 is near the entrance to the museum. This building is dedicated in part to children, where it shows what seems to be a small school and toys from different times. In this house, we will also find the manufacture of textile crafts from the Black Forest. We continue our visit and head to the oldest building of the museum. Built in 1612 and located in its original location on the ground. In this place, apart from the house, we will find the samples of different crafts, such as textile or shoemaker. Already at the top, we find another sample of tools dedicated to agriculture and livestock. We continue to visit small buildings, such as a warehouse, a bread oven and distillery, or a small sawmill. We continue our journey and pass through a small mill from the year 1609. With a sample of tools and machines dedicated to wheat milling. Another building from the year 1652 shows us the manufacture and repair of the carriages. Near there, a small stream moves the mechanism of a blacksmith's straw. We continue the visit by a small sawmill from 1826, very close to another large building of the museum. A large construction from 1608, in which, in addition to a small labyrinth for children, we will find an exhibition dedicated to forestry, that is, to the cultivation of mountains and forests and their exploitation, showing us the different tools and utilities used for it. The next floor, like the other previous houses, is dedicated to the house and the bedroom. On the last floor, we have an exhibition where we can see different means of transportation of wood. We continue our visit by this idyllic landscape, which seems to have stopped in time, and which makes the hours pass almost without realizing. The last place we visited within the museum was a house from the year 1775, in which we found in the lower part a cellar with a wooden trunk. And in the part dedicated to the housing we will find original furniture from the 60s perfectly preserved that make us move to that time. And so we ended our visit to this open-air museum, which will please both older and young, and which will make us enjoy for a few hours the recreation of the way of life of the inhabitants of the Black Forest many years ago. Very close to the museum, so close that we can go on foot or in a vehicle, where we will find parking at the entrance. We find a Sommerrodelbahn, which translated would be something like a summer train track, in which we will enjoy going down the slope of the mountain on trains that move on rails. And that even if it looks like a game more focused on children, we can assure you that the elderly will also get it phenomenal. And all this for a price of €4 for adults and €3 for children.